Whether we're working in a global enterprise or a more modest SMB, IT folks know there's never enough time, staff, or skills to get everything done.
But it's critical that we work as efficiently as possible, not just so that we can keep our sanity intact, but so we have the time and credibility to be at the table with business leaders to help guide their technical decisions.
Now, while it's true for organizations of all sizes, for SMBs, the wrong technical decision can be lethal.
So in this session, Leon and I are going to explore 5 types of tools that help IT pros by enabling end-user productivity, but doing so in such a way that creates more time, not less, for you to focus on other tasks.
Now, just like you, we're kind of under the gun here. We were told that we are limited to 3 minutes to talk about each of these tools.
What? Are you serious?
Yeah, I know, blah, 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 budget cuts, blah, 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 maximizing revenue, not enough time, yeah.
Well, okay then, start the clock.
Here we go. All right, first up, help desk and ticketing system.
Yeah, the help desk is a critical foundational element for an IT organization, especially an SMB IT organization, because it's the central point of communication, central point of contact. And with that, you have to have certain elements within a help desk to really make it effective and get your time back. One of the things, for example, is having templates for the ticket itself. What are the minimum information that I need to capture as part of any call or contact to the help desk? We need a way to automate the flow of the ticket within the organization, so that way everybody knows who's doing what. Having a place where we can have the private comments around the ticket as well as public comments. So end users can not only check on the status of the ticket for themselves, but IT folks can talk to each other and use those technical terms that we don't necessarily want to share with the end user.
Right, and that's more than just the ID10T or PEBCAT. You know, it's actually where you want to say, yeah, we've seen this problem, 32 times, but that's not something that you want out in the user community necessarily or whatever.
Yeah, exactly, because it can be misinterpreted, and even though we know inside of IT what we're talking about, it can be misinterpreted from the consumer perspective. And then I think, queues, having the ability to route a ticket to a particular work queue so that people that are working within that particular group can find and work on a ticket as they need to.
Right.
But maybe the most critical part here is the ability to report. How many tickets am I getting? What kinds of tickets are there? Are there certain applications or systems that are causing more issues or tickets than what we are really anticipating? So the help desk really is that foundational element.
And I would also say that reporting, one of the things that I think a lot of organizations miss is that you're going to get what you report. So to think about in your reporting system that if you're going to report on ticket close time, you're going to get very fast ticket close times even if the problem isn't done.
Good point.
So think about what you want to report on and what you want to measure.
Right, yeah. If measurement is the way to manage, reporting is going to kind of influence how we do things. So it's important to measure and report on the right things, not just things that you may be able to do.
Exactly. Are we done here?
I think that covers it.
Fantastic. Tool number 2, remote desktop. What is it? Why do businesses need it?
Well, remote desktop gives a IT technician an opportunity to actually remote in, hence remote desktop, into a consumer's PC or laptop and maybe remediate an issue that they're having with it. The fact of the matter is there's never going to be a one-to-one relationship between the number of consumers and the number of IT technicians. So remote desktop is one of those critical tools that gives you back some time that you need in order to do the job that you need to do for your consumers.
Right. I remember I was supporting 300 engineers one time, and they were on 3rd floor, 1st floor, 3rd floor. And I lost a lot of weight during that job because I was running steps all the time. But yeah, remote desktop would have fundamentally changed the work I was doing.
Yeah, I think there needs to be a new metric, number of laps on your pair of shoes if you don't have remote desktop. So, but it's one of those things that every IT organization needs, but especially the SMB IT organization. Some of the features that you want to look for is the ability to do a secure connection. Not only do you want that connection between the IT technician and the consumer to be secure, but you also want the consumer to be aware of that you're actually remoting into the machine and they can give you permission.
Oh, right. Yeah, you can't just sneak in there. Most remote desktop tools now expressly don't permit that.
Right. Right, and it's an opportunity for the consumer to play along as you're resolving an issue. Then that you also need something to chat with the end user as you're navigating from screen to screen. Here's the things that I'm doing now. Here's what I'm checking. Have the ability to have that back and forth with consumer. Not only does that help the consumer understand what it is that you're doing, but it also builds consumer confidence and gives you that credibility that you need, that you do know what you're doing. From a remote perspective. And then one of the last things I think that you want to look for in a remote desktop tool is the ability to do some kind of clip and paste into the tool. Let's say that you've got a script or something that help you capture certain kinds of information from the laptop, the end user laptop. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to clip that in, cut it into the remote PC that you're connected to, and then execute that script so you can capture certain information that might help you with troubleshooting.
Right. Right. Anything else?
I think those are the big things that you want with a remote desktop tool. Remember, there's only one of you and lots of consumers.
Okay, hit it. Okay, third tool, patch management. Now, I think a lot of people are asking, why is this so important? What's the big deal about it?
Well, patch management is one of those proactive things that every organization ought to do, but especially an SMB, to get themselves some time back by being proactive about ensuring that their systems are up to date and current, reduce the risk of cyber threats and other, making sure that our software is up to date is one of the most critical things that an SMB IT organization can do to ensure that they get that time back that they need to work with leaders.
Okay, but specifically, which pieces should people be looking for in a patch management tool?
Well, that's a great question. And what we have to realize is that there are multiple parts within an IT organization. Not only do we have to keep our PCs up to date, but also network gear, servers, so on and so forth. Every part of that infrastructure has to be up to date and current, and we have to be able to keep it up to date so we can not only maintain it, but ensure that we have the best reliability and availability of our systems.
Okay, so making sure that you can do multiple parts of the infrastructure, that's one. What else?
Well, understanding what your inventory is, what systems need what patches. That's kind of a task to keep up with, especially when you have a few more than a handful of devices on your network, just knowing how, and knowing how many licenses that you're actually enabled or entitled to. That's kind of critical.
Okay, fine. So license management, inventory management, what else?
Knowing what systems need what patches. That's kind of a critical thing too. Various systems have various life cycles and they go through different kinds of patching routines. And knowing that, okay, I got these last week, these I need to get this week, because oftentimes we don't have necessarily the bandwidth to patch everything within our environment, nor do we want to at all at the given time. So ensuring that we're staying out of the end user's way while we're patching on behalf of the end user is kind of an important thing.
Right, and I'll also say that knowing when you have to make a variance. So not only, everything isn't always going to be patched up to the most newest level, but knowing that if there's a variance, why?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And then, now and again, IT people have to sleep. So being able to schedule these things and automatically patch the things in your environment, like during the middle of the evening, have some kind of exception report that comes back and says, oh, I missed this one because it was not powered on, or this one failed for whatever reason. But being able to automate that process gives us back the time that we need so we can do the other tasks.
Great. And that's true of the network gear also, because sometimes you have to patch or you have to update things in what they call a leaf and branch process, where you have to hit the furthest thing out and then work your way back, or else you end up cutting yourself off from, whatever. Okay, fantastic.
So patching helps you work smarter.
Wonderful. All right, next tool.
I think that's it.
Okay, we're almost at the end. Tool number 4 is actually not a tool, alerting. It's more of a capability that should be available in any of the other things that we're talking about today, but we just wanted to pull it out because there's so much specific about it, right?
Yeah. The thing about alerting is it gives you back time because, A, if you find out something before your consumer finds out about something, you can work on that and proactively resolve it.
Right.
But even more important, in my opinion, you find out before your boss finds out. That's the worst thing that can happen is your boss comes into your office and says, hey, did you know so-and-so is going on? If you've got that alerting capability, you avoid that embarrassing situation.
Fantastic. Okay, so what are the key features that a business of any size should be thinking about with their alerting functionality?
First is just the ability to define a threshold. What is it that I'm wanting to alert against? Full disk system, CPU utilization, some of the basic kinds of things, even maybe transaction flow or transaction rates might be one of those things that you want to keep an eye on so that you can take action before things go south.
Okay. What else?
Well, having the ability to use some of the out-of-the-box kinds of alerts,
Yeah.
some things, thresholds to monitor for, that kind of capability might be a great thing to kind of get a jump start on that.
Okay, so I'm going to counterpoint here for a little bit. We've talked a lot about it on Lab and THWACamp and things like that, that out-of-the-box alerts are suggestions. They're not considered to be best practices, but they're showing that a particular kind of thing can be done. You can collect the top 10 processes when a certain thing occurs. So my rule is not to take an out-of-the-box alert as, let me turn them all on because these are perfect, but, oh, I see, I should be thinking about these kinds of alerts and modify them salt to taste for my organization.
Yeah, that's a great point because not even, having the ability to see what the tool can do with some of the out-of-box is great. And then the last thing, if you're going to find it, do something about it. So being able to automate the solution or the remediation of the issue.
Right. So when I'm setting up an alert, I say, when this happens, what are you going to do? Oh, I just typed the Grafrinkle command, and then I wait to see what happens. Well, can I type the Grafrinkle command for you, and then monitor for that? And that way, when the person gets the notification, they know that X occurred, Y was tried, Z was tried. None of that fixed it. So now you're getting an information or a ticket or what have you.
Right. Absolutely. So that gets you some time back.
Okay, speaking of time back, I think we got a little extra time. Let's go to the fifth question.
Great.
Hit it. Okay, fifth tool, we're almost there. Syslog. Now I'm curious, why Syslog? What is it about that a business needs to be aware of?
Yeah, I think Syslog is one of those overlooked things within an environment. When I think about Syslog, I think about it as being like the flight data recorder or your black box within your IT environment.
Okay.
It captures lots of information and can be invaluable when it comes to troubleshooting some kind of issue.
Okay, great. But there is an issue with how chatty it is, right?
Yeah, it can be a little chatty if you're not careful with it. So a good Syslog tool will give you the ability to select or filter kinds of things, which is something you want to look for.
Okay, great. Anything else?
Well, as you might imagine, every server, every device out there that does Syslog has its own Syslog. You suddenly find yourself overwhelmed with all these Syslogs.
Right.
So you need a way to consolidate Syslog so you have just one place to go look versus multiple places to go look at your Syslog.
Okay, and this is where I get up on my soapbox. I've talked about this a lot, and I'm going to talk about it now, is that Syslog and Trap also represent a huge pressure on the monitoring system. If you send all your Trap and Syslog to a single system, you're going to overwhelm it. It doesn't matter which vendor or which solution you use. So what I propose is a Trap and Syslog filtration system. And what it looks like is this, where you have all the devices sending Trap and Syslog out, they're over here, and then they're sending it in. Now, if you send it to the monitoring system, like I said, you're just going to clobber it into the dirt. So instead, you take a load balancer, put one virtual IP, one VIP, which means that configuring your environment is much easier because you now can just configure that single VIP for everything. And then behind the load balancer, which is, by the way, doing UDP round robin. That's important, so it's connectionless. Behind that, you put as many virtual or physical servers that are doing Trap and Syslog forwarding. It has to be transparent forwarding so that the original source IP and source machine information is kept. And that will forward the things that have monitoring impact to the monitoring server. If the security team says that they want the audit logs or the firewall logs, you can branch off and create a rule for that. And finally, you can throw everything into a database and then do the dumpster diving, the flight recorder analysis that you need there. So that's what I always propose people do so that they're not overwhelming the monitoring system, which is doing so many other things at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. And back to the point, Syslog is one of those things we often don't think about, but can save us so much time if we just know to go look at those things.
Right, and you have a way to get into it.
Absolutely.
Okay, fantastic. We there?
I think it's it.
Excellent. Okay, I cannot believe that we finished everything in 15 minutes.
Yeah, but there's still so much more that we could talk about on each of these topics.
Right, that's actually not a problem because we have more resources in the show notes that go along with this.
Yeah, but if we were so strapped for time, how can we just be sitting here chatting now?
Well, they actually probably haven't noticed that we're still on, so we can actually probably sneak in a sixth tool.